leadership is about following.
Right.
But sometimes leadership is about leading, not following.
Hello and welcome to Up Close and Personal at Invocate Studio, where we're diving deep into the heart of leadership and ed equity. I'm Rhea Mendiratta and I'm your host today. I'm very excited to be joined by Mr. Prakash Belawadi. He's a theatre artist, a film director, a TV and media personality, a teacher activist and a journalist. So we're very excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start by asking you a question about leadership. And I'm going to ask you to shed some light on what is the importance of bringing different kinds of people and perspectives together on the table to solve a problem. Any problem. We're talking about education here, but you can give us examples from elsewhere as well.
See, there is a saying in Kannada, which actually in Kannada it says "Alagi ballavane arasaguva." That means somebody who knows how to be a good subject. Only he can be a good ruler.
Okay.
That's what it means.
Right.
So sometimes leadership, in fact, in my opinion, most times leadership is about following.
Right.
But sometimes leadership is about leading, not following.
Right.
And I'll give the examples. See, in the Indian way of thinking, from the epics, Rama, Lord Ram, Rama, is an example of a leader who abides by the rules.
Right.
So he follows the rules.
Yes.
The reason he leaves the kingdom and goes, he doesn't challenge his father's decision, is because he's a Pitru Vakya Paripalaka. That's why he goes.
Right.
And because he understands the idea, if he has the right to inherit, he also has the duty to obey. Right? That is how it goes, correct? So Rama is an example of a person who follows the rules.
Right.
At personal cost, and cost mainly to his wife, right? He's of course beloved to her, and she is beloved to him, but that is personal, and he has priority. He thinks the rules as a king or a prince he has to follow. So that's what he does.
Right.
That's a kind of leadership consciousness that he sets this example. That's one kind of leadership.
Right.
But Krishna is the kind of leadership who operates in crisis, where nothing like this has ever been dealt with before. You need to make decisions that have not been made before.
Right. Right.
So to judge him by the rules of the normal state is ridiculous.
Okay.
So the Krishna consciousness of leadership would be different. He will have to do things that nobody has done before. So it's easy to say he is wrong because you're applying the rules of peacetime. See, in a cricket match, if your shoelace comes off, a person with the forward short leg comes and ties the enemy's shoelaces.
Right.
But in a war, if the tank is broken, you use the opportunity to kill the enemy.
Right.
So if Karna's wheel is stuck, you use the opportunity to, because the duty in a war is to finish the war and win.
Right.
That's your duty. So the thing is, he has to be judged by the consciousness of unique circumstance, unprecedented situation.
Right.
There is no model to go by. You choose from first principles and you do what you think is the right thing.
Right.
So I'm saying leadership should be both these. Critical thinking like Krishna's, not blindly following.
Right.
Then on the other side, when there is no problem, to go by the rule book.
Right.
I think both are important in leadership, which is actually not taught, I think, that much.
Yeah, I mean, there's more singular perspectives on this is leadership, and they might be varied and okay in their own context.
Yeah.
But I've hardly ever seen two parallel definitions that are kind of contradicting. But they're not contradicting, they're just valid in different situations.
The circumstance demands a different leadership sometimes. That's
Understood.
what I mean.
Thank you.
In a war, a leader is very different.
Yeah, and I think this is very relevant, what you're saying, to our sector where we work. Because we're tackling a problem that's very complex, very convoluted. So I'm guessing that your opinion here would be that we need shifting styles of leadership in different situations.
Shifting consciousness of problem analysis.
Right.
Yeah.
So to give you a little bit more context in what we're focusing on these days, is we want people from different perspectives to come together and solve the problem. So we're Shiksha Lokam, we might have expertise in one area, but we don't claim expertise in enabling holistic education for a child. There might be other players in the market who are experienced in, say, social emotional learning that we'd want to partner with. Oftentimes what we see is that when we bring a lot of people together with different areas of expertise and perspectives, there are clashes, there are challenges in that situation. You have worked with getting different people together to accomplish a mission. What are some challenges that you face in doing that?
I think first you have to listen. You can disagree later, but first listen.
Right.
When the other person is talking, don't start shaking your head in the middle of a sentence. See, what happens then is that you can never have a conversation because the other person knows before she has finished the sentence that, this person will not agree, and she will shift gear and get a little bit aggressive or hostile mid-sentence.
Right.
See, this takes us nowhere.
Right.
And actually, I use this as an example in anything that we deal with.
Right.
So, I think the opposition, whether it is this party or that party, should not walk out of the house.
Right.
Debate is sacred. You should sit there. And bills should not be passed. 21 bills should not be passed in 13 minutes, like they do in parliament.
Right.
Bills have to be discussed. Points of view must be put there. And you should hope that, we will emerge into a more mature parliamentary democracy, and, that listening helps, and that we will make necessary changes.
Right.
So as lawmakers, you're representative of the people, and for you to be walking out of the house is abdication of duty. That's what I think. So I'll say that when you have an opportunity of discourse, discourse eventually can become dialogue, because it can be one set of ideas and another set of ideas. Eventually it will come down to the action is always a binary, whether you will do this or not.
Right.
So when it comes to that point, all the people who disagree with what is proposed can go to one side.
Right.
So that's how agreeing side and disagreeing side will be there. Eventually the discourse will become dialogue at some point of time. And that dialogue must be had. If you have, it is possible to get by consensus, or unfortunately by majority, a decision that has had the opportunity for vetting, exposure, all the stakeholders have spoken, and then you decide to do it. So I think that is the correct model,
Right.
To do anything, whether it's in a family, it's in a play, at rehearsals, or in a conversation. That's how we should do it, I think.
Yeah. We're very hopeful that that happens, and we're trying to talk to as many people as possible to get their opinion on this, because we want to make this happen. We're working in collectives, we see the challenges, we're working through the challenges.
You need to be a little bit careful there, because some people, when they're tiring, you know what they're going to say.
Right.
You should jump that, you should go to the next thing very quickly, because you should not just do it, for form. You should also do it for function. It should give something. If everyone is like-minded in a class, if they demonstrate that, I think to test whether, we say in Kannada again, to test whether the rice is cooked, you need only one grain to test. You don't need to go through every grain in the...
Right.
Yeah. So it needs a little bit of wisdom and some jugaad and all it requires, I think.
Any wisdom for anyone who's watching today?
See, it's a brave thing to call an actor, to such an important discussion. Okay?
Why not?
Why not? So it's a good thing you do. So when you do risk-taking, you should call people whose opinions on such a matter may not have been heard. See, we feel that's a great... See, there is 847 channels in India. We don't know, there may be more. There's a last figure that has been disclosed. And we do 1,500 films which get censored in India and get released.
Right.
We also do web series and innumerable other audiovisual production we keep doing.
Right.
From TikTok to anything. And in the Film and Television of Institute of India, every year takes 10 people. Every year, 10 people it takes. In a country of 1.4 billion,
Right.
takes 10 people into the, or 12 people into the direction class. There is something wrong. I'm saying we should have had every school teaching audiovisual education.
Yeah.
Because, just like you learn grammar and you can make a mistake, there's a grammar to the way you edit, to the way you compose, what magnification you use. And, it has messages, it has particular meaning.
Right.
It has syntax, just like you have in language. How you frame visuals and how you compose, how you juxtapose in time and in space.
Right.
So if you watch a film only for emotional experience and you don't have any tools for critical analysis, because it's a critical technology-based medium,
Right.
it means that you don't understand what education is,
Right.
what you consume every day. See, the clothes I'm wearing, I should know where the fiber comes from. I should know how much water they use for it.
Yes.
Whether it's an ecologically sound decision for me. Do they use child labor?
Absolutely.
What dye do they use? Do they put the dye into the river?
Right.
We should know. We know nothing.
Right.
What you eat, you don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
What you wear, you don't know where it comes from. Everything that you consume comes to you from a shop. What kind of education is that? We're as dumb as they come, really.
Yeah.
The person who grows this knows a little better, right? So that is terrible. And unless we look at this, we're not connecting with the public.
Absolutely. That's precisely why we want to do collective action. We want to get different perspectives in the room, because otherwise we have tunnel vision. It's not just about school. I'd like to jump gears a little bit. So I'm going to ask you my big question that I have for you. The development sector, and anybody who works in it is definitely not immune to the trends of the world that are ongoing. Right now, we're shifting towards education leadership as opposed to just working with teachers like we used to before, or just focusing on infrastructure, for instance. We're also now shifting to more data-based decision making. We're shifting to collective action and challenging ourselves to work with people who are different from us. What is the challenge that you see education, the Indian education sector specifically, that we will face as a sector in the near future? What is a challenge that we should anticipate coming forward after this?
The greatest danger, which I think, is AI in education.
Okay.
See, you look at what happened with social media. People disconnected from the authority of newspapers, right? Mainstream media, as they call it. Actually, that's no longer mainstream. It's the side stream.
It is.
So, but the mainstream media in the past could write editorials and they could be quoted. It was an important thing. If they reported a thing, it seemed true. Today, because the credibility of mainstream media, rightly or wrongly, is under question, and because social media, there are some social influencers who gain more public trust than even TV anchors. So what happens now is that if you look at that possibility going into education, you'll begin to think, if it's rote learning, same thing with courtrooms, for instance, but we'll look at if it's rote learning, if it's syllabus based, if it's the same lessons based in classroom, you can get AI models, which can come in the language of your choice, in the dialect of your choice, with the most pleasing, with fake videos, Shah Rukh Khan could be doing a physics lesson. It's very pleasing, and it may be much cheaper than actually paying money and going to a school. Then I think you have a great challenge. What is the formal education sector, or people like you who are really committed and deeply involved in facilitating and driving improvements in formal education? What would your role be then? Either you embrace AI or you fight against it. And I would say the danger is that a lot of people may decide to fight AI, like doctors are saying human touch is required and all that. I mean, they'd stopped doing that for some time, but now they're talking, okay? But if you do that, I think you'll be overwhelmed because the public will disconnect like they did in social media. They just will leave and go to a choice they can get. I fear there will be empty classrooms, all large buildings, schools may no longer have any space, and a small village school which 3 rooms or 2 rooms, maybe just the size required for a school,
Right.
just to run, keep storage and run courses from there.
Right.
No teacher required, just
Okay.
students, and they don't need to come to school.
And that you fear is a challenge.
It's a challenge for people in this sector, formally, or people who want to be in this sector to help.
Right.
I think you need to look at AI strongly, boldly, look it in the eye, and you need to bite the bullet, I think, on some of things. Look, I'm not a very wise person. This is my fear, I'm saying.
Okay. No, I just wanted to understand your perspective better. Tell us how you think we should be preparing. You said look at it in the eye and bite the bullet. How do you think, you said embrace or skip maybe. What would your course of action be?
I'll say leapfrog. See, I'll tell you, let's say you look at a screen, okay? The screen can be many parts, right? A TV screen
Right.
can be many time spaces,
Right,
right? File footage can be there, one location, another location, and studio location. 4 time spaces it can be.
Right.
So you can split in real time a video screen with 5G, 6G connectivity in the future. That's what the young people will come to, children will come into
Right.
the future. By 2030, we'll have 6G.
Right.
What I'm saying is 10,000 times more power, or to transmit data. Now, what I'm saying is when you get that, you should be able to access any lesson. It can be interactive, okay? And you can have real-time translation that the machine can do.
Right.
And you can have listening devices, somebody who's got,
Right.
the lesson can be squeezed into, the handheld device they have.
Right.
That's the homework they take. That is their entire library. They don't need to carry, fat books.
Right.
Okay? Or it can be actually embedded into the table. They just come, and with a biometric thing, that thing actually pulls from some storage.
Yeah.
Your personal thing for this. At whatever stage the child is learning, it can come. You can send remarks to parents on
Right.
how the child is doing.
Yeah.
Continuous monitoring can happen. You can have a UID style data system that NEP is proposing.
Yeah.
And your personal, how you have done so far can go into that thing. All that can happen.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is, to prepare for that future, you don't need classrooms. But you need congregation, you should think. Children should know how to be with each other. And maybe in the schoolyard, they should grow potatoes and brinjal and, and millets.
Yeah.
They should grow. They should maybe look at recycling water there. That is the kind of thing they should learn.
Right.
Some environmental consciousness will come.
Right.
They should contest elections to create culture secretary for the school president and secretary and student secretary and all that. So they understand participative democracy. So I'm saying congregation is required, but you need to understand that it may not be required for a teacher to come to a class and actually harangue or rant at the students,
Right.
with the same lesson. So I'm saying, to prepare for that future, you need to create awareness about this future. And this future, I fear, is 2-3 years from now.
I understand what you're saying.
So I'm saying you should just jump into the deep end here, I think.
Yeah.
See, look, I'm saying, I'm not a wise person. I'm not an expert, but I'm always in this kind of talks. I organized a emerging technologies big conference in Bangalore. I'm nobody, but they made me the chair of that conference, because I think you need people who worry about this and are able to look like a fool with ideas that they have. Because only if you have a conversation of the future, which is not what you've had before, can we do this, I think. Especially people like you, who could have done anything, but you've chosen to come here. And it's up to you to, the challenge you're not walking to the challenge, it's rushing at you.
Right.
And in some aspects, it's gone past you,
Yeah.
So you should do this thing now. Otherwise, you won't be required. That is the worst thing, to lose a resource that cares is the worst possible thing that can happen.
Understood. Thank you for sharing that. While you were explaining that, I understand that it's a challenge, but I could also envision a beautiful amalgamation of human touch, like you were saying, and using AI. Maybe the teacher's not teaching but is a facilitator. So that vision is important, and we want to hold that vision and move forward in that direction really fast. So we'll skip to a rapid fire round now. I don't think I need to tell you what that means. I'll just throw a question at you. You don't have too much time. You just need to answer. These are fun, not as serious as what we've been talking about. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
I would restore the planet to health. Good air, clean air, extinct species if possible to be restored. And the balance of life on the planet should be restored. It's been lost. That's what I would do.
Fantastic. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Mysore filter coffee.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Both. Unfortunately, I sleep very little.
Okay. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
I could keep quitting jobs in the past. Now nobody employs me. So.
If you could master any skill instantly, what would it be?
To grow something with my hands, you know.
Do you not have a green thumb?
I don't know. I live in a flat, I've not tried, but, at this age, this is my greatest fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beaches or mountains?
Beaches.
Okay. One last question is your message to teachers.
In the Purusharthas, there is this thing about that, there is Dharmartha, Kamartha, there is Arthartha, and there is Moksha. We'll not talk about Moksha, but we'll talk about the other three. Those are the ethical norms of karma for India.
Right.
In Sanatana Dharma. Okay. So, a teacher must actually do the dharma of teaching. Which means the teaching is karma, but the dharma of it is that the teacher must be equipped to teach. That means you always try the best you can to know what it is that you're telling, that you test it critically for the truth or not. And that is what you impart to students. And if a student contradicts you, and with critical thinking, I think you should yield to the student and saying, because it's not about teaching. The goal is not teaching. The goal is learning, right?
Right.
So I think that is the dharma of teaching. The dharma of teaching is actually learning.
Right.
Okay. So the second thing is that it should be arthartha. It's not that you just cover the syllabus. See, let us say, for instance, when I was studying engineering, we had to study diodes and triodes and pentodes, but solid state electronics had already come by then.
Right.
And there was no point actually reading this, okay?
Yeah.
But you have to go through this because it's there in the syllabus. There is no meaning to it. Artha is meaning, So there was artha. It has to be meaningful what you teach. If it is obsolete or if it is not relevant anymore, or if a new discovery has been made in the class when you're teaching this, you must say, Arthur Eddington proved Einstein. You must say if it has done it that day.
Right.
You can't just do the syllabus, okay? That is artha. And you should be kamartha. That means you should like what you're doing. You should not do like, I have to just go through the syllabus, I'll do. 40 minutes I have to teach, I'll finish. No, that's not what it is. You have to teach as much as you can, because you should love to teach, so that students learn, So I think that's what I would tell teachers, because I'm a teacher. I do this all the time.
Yeah.
I don't do it so well, but I tell that to myself, so.
Thank you so much. That was lovely.
Thank you.
I'm sure that will inspire teachers or make them reflect.
Thank you.
It was lovely engaging in conversation with
thank
you
you
today.
so much.
Thank you so much again. This is it for this segment of Up Close and Personal at Invoke It Studio. I'll see you next time.